Get mantra and meditation MP3s at JasonGallant.ca. If you're suffering, there's a good chance that you need more nothing in your life. More nothing, right? Makes a lot of sense. But it's really true, because the one thing, I'm playing on words like crazy right here, but the one thing is the no thing. So many people start on their spiritual journey looking for something, but they end up getting more of nothing. So less of something. That's really what you're seeking, because the quagmire of things is sticky. It's full of polarities, it's full of black and white, full of good and bad. It's full of superficial conditional feelings, conditional things. But there's no freedom in it. It's contractual. So if who you are is free, nothing is free. There's nothing other than nothing. There's just this nothing called that. You know, the sages have referred to it as that because it's indescribable, because how do you describe nothing? The nothingness is where everything emerges from, all of the creations of the ego and identity, and there's nothing wrong with those things when you understand that they are creations, they are your own creations. When you understand that you create something, then you also understand how to uncreate it or pull yourself out of a trap that you created. Right? If you created an elaborate mouse trap for yourself and you knew how all the mechanisms happen, and then you get your foot stuck into something, it wouldn't be quite so big of a deal. Even if it was painful, you're like, okay, well, I just know exactly how to get my foot out of this thing and no problem. Move about your merry way. So this is the amazing part of identifying with the nothingness, the source of where you came from. You realize the pleasures and also the not so pleasant things of the ego. Where people get stuck is that they think that they are their identity. They are the things that they created. In any given day, you create a lot of stuff that you don't identify with. I mean, physical body's creating stuff all the time. You get the sniffles or whatever. You know, you sweat sometimes, you grow hair. You know, very few people get haircuts and say, oh my God, who am I? You know, because I lost one of my hairs. So when you just backpedal a little bit more, just step back a little bit more and realize what else you are creating, then your creations don't become Frankensteins. They're no longer scary monsters roaming around in the night, because you realize, well, I created that monster so I can uncreate it. Because after all, I have emerged from the nothingness. It's a very Shiva way of looking at things. You are the nothing. You are just that. See, now life becomes play. Now you can create a lot of stuff and enjoy it, because you're like, well, it's not so scary. I can pull myself out of that creation anytime I want if it's no longer serving my comfort or my bliss or my freedom. And then you might surprise yourself, because the limitations that you had imposed upon yourself before are no longer applicable, because you're not making life or plans in life based on your perceived limitations or fears, because you know that you're not limited. You know that you have the power to extract yourself from any of your creations if they become unpleasant. It's the not remembering who you are that creates the problem. It's the forgetting that you are the grand nothingness. It's the false identification with that which you created. That's what's causing the issue. Because if you believe you're something, then when that something becomes a problem, then you are the problem. You're like, oh my God, I'm a problem. And you run around and say, hey, what do I do about this problem? How do I solve it? Well, I guess, suicide, because you believe that you are that thing. And the only way to get rid of you is, I guess, some sort of death of some sort. But this is true, but it's not physical. It's just an ego death. When you realize you are not what you created, you're not even the I, that's what we call ego death. And that is the solution. That is the true death solution, not the false one, which is the suicide sort of thing that people go to at times when they're incredibly depressed. Really what they're seeking is death of the ego. So remember, you are not what you create. You are not your thoughts, you are not these emotions, you are not these things that move through you. You are the background through which all of it moves. The grand nothing. Super important nothing though. Not like, oh, I'm nothing. It's more like super divine nothing. So I hope this helps you on your spiritual journey. Take care for now. Are you interested in working with a spiritual teacher in a formal setting? Well, perhaps the Wisdom Life School is for you. If you're interested in checking out what the Wisdom Life School is all about, just go to aratima.com.